Hey woodworkers. Alright, so talking about vacuum bags, I've got my veneer flattening all prepped. I'm sliding this into the bag. I've got my main platen underneath, and so sliding this thing in, got plenty of space. I'm not really worried about these corners anymore, and there's a little bit of extension with the veneer, but I'm not worried about that either because that's already kind of mangled and shot. So there are these clamps for the vacuum bag, and it's basically just two pieces of pipe. One slips inside the other. That goes around the bag itself, and so by doing that, it creates this nice bond or seal. And vacuum bags are kind of amazing in their simplicity, but also potential of what you can do with them, assuming you can get them clamped, of course. So with the vacuum bag, we're only trying to increase the atmospheric pressure that's surrounding this board, or this group, whatever it is. So that place for you. Alright, so clamping this thing on. I have to get rid of all the wrinkles under this clamp. If there are any wrinkles at all, that's going to start to create a gap where air is going to escape. There's a little valve right here. The valve I've got to be really cautious of because I'm going to put our collection hose into that environment. And when this thing starts to suck down, this could actually suck down nice and flat against whatever it is we're clamping, and that would stop the pump from being able to draw air. So as long as I've got a good spot for that thing to do what it needs to without compromising the strength, that's what I'm into. I'm going to turn this on and keep talking. Okay, so you'll notice that there are some loose points to the bag that I can't get my hands on. There we go. So it's really loose here, and it's easy for me to hold, manipulate. I still have time if I need to flatten anything out, readjust. I can even pull the clamps off and reposition this if I need to. But while I'm talking about this, it's going to take a couple minutes to dry out all the air, which leads us to the pump for the vacuum bag. So there's two different versions of pumps, or two different goals for what the pump will do. One is consistently drawing out that vacuum, so the pump is constantly running 24 hours a day, or as ever long as you're into this thing for. The other one is a better version, I think, for longevity of the motor, as well as only pulling when you need to. So once there's a setting on the pump, once you tell it the pressure that you're shooting for, once it draws that pressure and that's achieved, it shuts off. And then it will reactivate once air is put into this environment, and it only starts drawing as you need it. So keeping those things in mind, and there's a couple different manufacturers which are fantastic. These things are around $1,200, $1,400, depending on which pump, which bag material you choose, and the manufacturer as well. What I'm hoping you can see now is that you can see that it's starting to take shape. It's going to be much harder for me to start pulling up this material. It's giving me more resistance, but eventually this is going to get all seated out, and you'll see this nice tight curve here, which means that it's really doing its job of putting pressure down. The pumps that you're looking at for a vacuum bag, you should consider the CFM, or the cubic feet per minute, how much draw it has. And so if you have a smaller pump, maybe that's 2 cubic feet per minute, and that's just going to take you longer to get draw. But once you've got that vacuum and you've held it, then you're there. Some of the better pumps are somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 to 6 cubic feet per minute. So you put this thing in, and then it's 2 seconds later, or whatever, depending on what you're clamping up, it's done, and then you've got vacuum. Okay, I can see that it's starting to take shape, and this will be difficult for me to start modifying or pulling this thing up. It's really fighting me, which is great. My valve is not compromised. If I wanted to I could probably seal this thing off and get the vacuum to stop, but right there is where I want it to go. So I'm just going to leave this, and for flattening the veneer, it's going to take time. And so I'm going to do this. I'm going to leave it overnight. I'm going to come back and check it tomorrow, change out the paper. I shouldn't need to respray it, but I will check the paper, pull those out, get dry paper in there, and then revisit this. And this could take up to 3 days to maybe 2 weeks, depending again on the severity of the curve. Once you have veneering here with some type of a chemical recipe to soften it or flatten the veneer, don't worry about having the veneer check or split or get ruined. All of that will soften the veneer, allow this process to work. There's enough trapped moisture in this environment between the paper and what you've added as far as liquid to it, that it will maintain a nice environment for that veneer to transition slowly from dry and rippled, crinkled, just a mess, and then soft enough, flat enough that you can use in any capacity. So leaving this where it is, and then I'll come back and check it tomorrow, and then the next time I'll check it, it'll probably be 2 days. The next time after that will probably be 4, and then at that point I think it'll probably be done. So, all right, good luck.